how's everyone enjoying the conference today? Sonia, congratulations. Putting together a fantastic program for everyone today, and all of the Alliance staff are doing really a great job. And thank you to all of you for participating. We're so happy to have you here. We have another very special guest with us to be our guest speaker today at lunch. She is the newest member and the first millennial elected to the powerful Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. Supervisor Lindsey Horvath assumed office on December 5th and represents the 3rd District, formerly represented by Sheila Kuehl. Supervisor Horvath served as a city council member and the longest consecutively serving mayor in the city of West Hollywood, and has a very long history of civic and social justice advocacy. She has worked on a broad range of transportation and mobility issues, from her service as a transportation commissioner to championing Metro Rail projects throughout the district. She's initiated the West Hollywood Bicycle Task Force, and through her leadership, West Hollywood was named the most walkable city in the state of California. Lindsey, I have to tell you, a number of us here worked many years to get the 3rd District redistricted into the Valley. And frankly, we're hoping that a Valley resident would then win the seat. So you screwed that up. But you being here today, so early in your term, to be with us at the Valley Economic Alliance is extremely meaningful and important to us, and we are so thankful for you being here. And my understanding is you just hired Barry Worth-Gervin, and so you're a genius as well, okay? And I think that we will make you a Valley girl eventually. The only renter on the Board of Supervisors, but when it comes time to buy, one of our Southland Association of Realtors is going to help you, and my hunch is you may be in the Valley. The other thing that's not a big secret is that Lindsey ran against my BFF, Bob Hertzberg. And Lindsey, let me tell you what Bob used to tell me in the late night calls every night during the campaign. He used to say, "She's good, man. She is tireless. Every person I call just spoke to her. Every person I meet just met her. And they knock her down, she gets right back up. She makes mistakes, she doesn't make it a second time, and she's good. She's one of the best I've ever seen in terms of a candidate for supervisor." That was the late night conversations that we had, and I want you to be aware of that. And I know that you will bring those same attributes to being our supervisor. And with that, please, we are so honored to have you here today. Welcome our brand new Los Angeles County Supervisor, Lindsey Horvath.
Well, with an introduction like that, holy moly. Hopefully I didn't mess up the plans too much, but I will say we now miss having the Hollywood Bowl, the Ford Theater, LACMA. A lot of those really wonderful arts institutions that belong to LA County used to be in this district. So the good news is now every supervisor and every community is responsible for taking care of our arts and culture throughout Los Angeles County. It's not just the responsibility of any one district, but all of us. And so I'm grateful that we have so many reasons to work together. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the work that we've already embarked on this week. But thank you for having me. I am so excited to be here. Thank you for the work that you do, for this very early invitation in my tenure. I know that there were a lot of conversations about, well, what are you going to do for the Valley? What do you know about the Valley? Have you even been to the Valley? Like, what do you know? And I've never lived in the Valley. I have to say, I've worked in the Valley. I've played in softball leagues and volleyball leagues and coached them in the Valley, flag football teams. I worked prior to, and actually during my public service, I work in the entertainment industry, so a lot of my clients have been in the Valley. But really, these community gatherings that I have been welcomed into long before I ran for office have really been signature to my experience of the Valley. It is clear to me that people build community at events just like this one. And so I am incredibly honored and grateful to be here with you today to share a few words, hopefully hear a little bit more from you. I know we're going to have a Q&A afterwards, but don't worry, this will not be the last time you see me. So I was greeted by Stuart as I came in, and he commented on how many times he's already seen from my social media that I've been in the Valley. So I promise you, I am here. I will continue to be here. I just hope you won't get sick of me. I thank you all for joining in today's event, and I know that you had some incredible leaders here with you already, sharing their vision, their thoughts, their commitment to working and partnering, which I know is a big theme of our convening today. And you can count me among those commitments to be a partner, an ally, a resource, somebody who wants to collaborate with you in making the Valley the best it can be, working with our very strong and vibrant economy that is the backbone throughout Los Angeles, right here in the Valley. And I want to extend my very special thanks to Mayor Bass, Metro CEO Stephanie Wiggins, Patty McJennett, and all of the panelists, all of the organizers, and the sponsors who made this event possible. These kind of convenings are invaluable, and I'm grateful to be here. These insightful presentations as well, the conversations that result are exactly what we need to uplift business, tourism, hardworking small business owners that I have been committed to promoting. I've been one of those small business owners, as you heard, serving in a community whose lifeline and lifeblood has been the tourism economy. These past few years were devastating in ways we never could have predicted, and it's taking all of us to get out of and out from under all that's fallen on us over these past couple of years, and we do that by working together. So the future of the Valley, we know, will be shaped by the leadership that we all exhibit today and the partnerships that we begin to forge here. And so today, it's about how we work together to solve the problems not only of today, but tomorrow. We build the infrastructure necessary for tomorrow and successfully and inclusively grow our economy for all. To accomplish many of these goals, to truly empower the future of the Valley, we need to reimagine and strengthen our partnerships throughout the region. And we need to rethink the way that we as elected leaders work together and collaborate on the most pressing issues facing our communities today. This summit is the perfect opportunity to recalibrate that relationship, to begin to build the relationships necessary to build a future that we can all be proud of. And this summit is also a perfect showcase of what partnerships can and should look like to accomplish our shared goals with the City of Los Angeles, Metro, cities throughout the region. I come from a small city, so I promise to never forget our small cities there, Mr. Shapiro, I know. Our small cities will always be on our radar. And key business leaders, of course, gathered here today. Partnership is about collaboration. It's about coming together to learn how to work together and how to solve problems together. We must lead by listening as much as by doing, collaborating with all, and striving to uplift every person impacted by the policies at play. So when we talk about collaboration and some of our most pressing crises, we've all seen the headlines recently and the work that this new generation of leadership, both at the board and in our new mayor, have made a commitment to tackling the chief issue, I think, that is top of mind for everyone, which is homelessness. And it is the humanitarian crisis in our streets. It is a problem plaguing each and every one of our neighborhoods. In some ways, we probably are tired of talking about it, and in other ways, we know that the work is just beginning with the declarations of emergency and the ways that we will be collaborating in new ways to solve this crisis. And I commit myself among those who are dedicated to making real, lasting progress and change on this issue, committed to doing so in partnership and collaboration with our partners here today, throughout the region, and of course, Mayor Bass, Mayor Richardson, all of our community partners and community-based organizations. Last month, we know the city of Los Angeles declared their state of emergency, and the mayor came to our December 20th board meeting where we affirmed that we would have her back on this issue and work together. Since that time, Mayor Richardson stepped up and declared an emergency in Long Beach. And I thought it was very important that we as a county also declare this state of emergency. How can you have a declared state of emergency in Los Angeles and Long Beach, but not in the county? And the services that all of our cities count on, the support that people count on from the county, has to work hand in glove with our cities, with our communities in each and every neighborhood. And knowing that we cannot go in 89 different directions, it was my commitment that we work within the Hall of Administration, all of our various departments, and with our community-based partners and organizations to make sure that we're working in alignment, that we are not allowing the bureaucracy and red tape to get in the way, but instead focusing clearly and resolutely on the issues that we see on our streets and making sure that we are efficiently and effectively using the resources that the public dedicates to this effort in a way that is meaningful and measurable. So what does that all mean? Well, we know what to do. We've learned through the work that we've done in our communities and throughout the county that how to deliver solutions. We just haven't been able to deliver them at the speed or scale that people deserve and that our neighborhoods are clamoring for, to be honest. And so that's why we needed to declare this state of emergency. We have to expand and accelerate our approach to services, and each city throughout LA County must work together to build the housing necessary to support our services. We have to make sure that we are creating housing opportunities while we are delivering the services that help people safely get into the housing and successfully stay in that housing and off the streets. It's why we're working together in partnership with our local cities to build more housing, to make sure that the services the county offers are delivering results. And the local emergency order will allow the county to streamline and accelerate contracting, procurement, and hiring related to homelessness services, while also accelerating the creation of licensed beds, interim housing, and permanent housing for unhoused individuals throughout the region. And while I was on the campaign trail, I heard a lot of people's concerns about, what's actually going on with all of that. We passed that Measure H, we passed Triple H, that's in the city, so I'm not responsible for that one. But Measure H is something that I heard a lot about. What's happening with that money? Where is it going? What are we actually seeing as a result of that effort? And so from day one, as my staff can attest, that has been the question I have been asking in each and every departmental meeting. It was the first question I asked of our CEO. We must be accountable to the public and the money that we are asking from the public to solve these problems and make sure that they're actually delivering results. Otherwise, there is no public trust. Otherwise, we cannot ask you to continue paying for problems that we're not solving. So, filling vacant positions in key county departments will be critical to increasing the county's response. And we've seen in recent reports the difficulties that we've had in hiring specifically in our Department of Mental Health. We have to compete with the private sector. Y'all offer a lot, so there's a lot that we have to be mindful of. But we also have to make sure that we're working with our community-based organizations. We can also help you all hire up through accelerating contracting processes and making sure those dollars are getting to you. You know best often, and in some cases better than some of the folks who are inside our building and our administration, how to serve your communities, how to serve people in their neighborhoods in the ways that make sense, that are culturally competent and mindful of the communities that they are part of. So we must empower you in partnership with us in solving these problems. It can't be either or, it must be a both and. The emergency declaration will help facilitate and expedite county hiring by potentially offering bonuses, higher salary schedules, but also loan repayment programs. Any other millennials here? Student loan debt, thank you very much. And so, we want to make sure that we're dealing with the realities of today. And if we're asking people to get the education they need to be in these jobs, we have to be mindful of what that education costs and what that means if we don't help that cost be paid down. It prevents us from owning those homes that the realtors all want us to buy. It prevents us or delays us in having the families that we want to have and growing our community. And so all of these issues are interrelated. And so we have to make sure that we're addressing these concerns, not just from inside the county, but helping you to address them in your own workforce. So the declaration of a local emergency in the county sets a new tone for our region's approach to solving the crisis, ushering in a new sense of urgency to get it done. And I've been quoted as saying it's long overdue. I don't think I'm alone in that sentiment. I didn't think it was a remarkable thing to say, but here we are, working hard to make sure that we are cutting through that red tape. And I want to be very clear that this effort, from my vantage point and the work that we will do in our office and from our leadership, is not about pushing people from one street corner to another, pushing the problem from one city to another. It is about solving the problem, working in coordination, and actually getting people off the streets and into the help and care that they need. It's also about using every tool that we have at our disposal to cut through the bureaucracy and the red tape that has hindered us for all too long. And I know that this will be music to the ears of many of you, those of us left-leaning politicians who often get blamed for some of these policies. We're actually doing the work to cut through the bureaucracy and get from point A to point B as quickly as possible. And we are using this moment not just to do it as a point in time, but to meaningfully restructure how we deliver these services so that here going forward, we're not just solving a crisis, but we're addressing this issue so it doesn't become a crisis in the future. We have to meaningfully realign our efforts and our services to make sure that this doesn't become the problem that it has been in the future. I know when we work together with Mayor Bass, Mayor Richardson, and all of the cities and the unincorporated areas of our county, our regional partners, and with people with lived experience of homelessness who help to inform just how our service delivery is or isn't working. They can help us make the changes necessary to be effective in that service delivery. When we all work together, we can get people into housing for good. I am confident that we can and will do that, and that we will get people the care that they need and deserve, and that they've come to expect from the county, and yet maybe they haven't quite experienced in terms of delivery. So when we look at how we do this, we know some of the most challenging issues are never easy to solve, otherwise they would have been solved already, but we're going to have to cut through a lot in order to get it done. And so as I said, cutting through that red tape and taking this opportunity to really look at what it is that's necessary for us to be good stewards of public dollars and public trust. That's, why bureaucracy was created in the first place, to make sure we're not moving so quickly that people don't know what government is doing. But we don't need so much of it that it slows us down in doing the things that people count on government to deliver. Because it's not just our homelessness crisis that needs cutting through the red tape. It's almost every issue that affects our daily lives. To deliver for our business community, for business owners, for workers, we as elected officials need to step back, streamline bureaucracy, and most importantly, listen to communities. I'm often invited into spaces to share words and thoughts and remarks, and I'm happy to do that. But it is the listening that will be the transformational part of the relationship that we will have together. Really hearing what it is you need to see in your community, in your workforce, in your line of work, in your industry, whatever it is. I want to hear it, and that's why I came here today. To your point about how we're going to build a valley that we can be proud of, it starts with the basics. And I want to focus on transportation and infrastructure. Both coming out of the rains that we've been experiencing, we certainly understand the need for improved and increased infrastructure as it relates to water and what our future relationship with water looks like. But also, I know you heard from Metro CEO today what our transportation infrastructure looks like. How do we get people moving around this region? How do we get people into housing that's connected to our transportation infrastructure, so that way we can get people to jobs, we can get them to health care, we can get them to all of the things that they count on to be delivered in this region, but can be stifled if we don't have a transportation system that works for us. So as the newest Metro board member, I am looking forward to working with our other board members to deliver on many of the projects that we've planned for LA County, the 3rd District, and the San Fernando Valley. We know that more funding is needed to complete the transportation infrastructure we need in the region, and we're working on that. But I am committed to exploring partnerships with local jurisdictions and private industry to accelerate the development of key infrastructure goals, just as I did in my own community before I had the honor of being elected to supervisor. And I want to share that while on social media, you may have seen that I went to the White House for a holiday party, which was very nice to be invited to. I was actually doing work to do this work, to make sure that we find the funding to build out our regional transportation infrastructure, and in fact had key successful meetings to make sure that we've already found some funding to meet some of these goals. So we're already doing that work, and it's going to be about the how we make sure that all of our partners on the Metro board move in sync, so we can advance all of our shared goals in our projects, that we really think about some of those near-term goals that we have for the Olympics when we are set on the world stage, and making sure that we are not just building infrastructure for an event, but for the increased and improved quality of life for all of us throughout the region as we look at the years ahead. Public-private partnerships are going to play a key role in how we build the Los Angeles of the 21st century. And I know they're also going to be involved in how we address the homelessness crisis. But not every solution needs to come from the Hall of Administration or a city hall. And in fact, it is oftentimes the private sector who does this work best. So I am very much open to public-private partnerships, to learning from each of you and your areas of expertise, to bring you into the work that we do to seed fund pilot projects to solve the problems that we know we need to solve on a mass scale, but do it project by project. Show exactly how we can do that work with a pilot project before we take things broad scale and sort of turn the tide and redirect the ship. The best thing sometimes for government to do, I will say, is just get out of the way. And while I know you've invited me here to speak, as I said earlier, sometimes the best thing I need to do is just shut up and listen. So I know this also as a former small business owner. I say former because I had to close down my business in order to assume this role. But I loved working as a small business owner, and I appreciated the independence, the connection that it gave me to the community, and the experience and insight it's given me into developing my own workforce, the challenges and bureaucracy I had to work through on my own, and how we can work better with our local governments to address those issues. I'm committed to uplifting small businesses throughout the San Fernando Valley in particular, and I'm committed to supporting hardworking business owners, employees, patrons, and everyone in between. While some are talking about businesses leaving California, we are focused on the backbone of the Los Angeles economy, which are the small businesses of the Valley. We know this. We know the story of the Valley and the story of small businesses. And so many of those legacy businesses here in the Valley couldn't imagine being anywhere else. And I want to learn from that experience, uplift that experience, and make sure that we have that opportunity for many more businesses to come who are excited about coming to Los Angeles and root them here for many decades to come too. I will work every day to protect and preserve that story. I want to work with businesses to use the lessons learned, the stories that I've heard, especially during this time of crisis, to craft policies that help our small businesses, particularly when it comes to cutting the red tape that I've been talking about. We also need to focus on workforce development and the role that the county can play working with our education system and many of the programs that we offer. making sure that these efforts are working in coordination to deliver meaningful results is something I'm particularly focused on. As we make sure we're uplifting our business community, we must be sure we're investing in and creating a workforce to fill the thousands of jobs we're creating here in LA County. And I want to ensure that we have an LA County that is dynamic, well-trained, and has a well-educated workforce that can support our existing businesses, both small and large, and encourage new businesses to locate and grow throughout Los Angeles County. We need a workforce that will provide the talent and that our businesses need to succeed, and a strong workforce will mean that individuals are succeeding in their careers, allowing them and their families to afford to stay in Los Angeles County, to support our small businesses, and create a life here that we all can be proud of. We need to make sure that we're connecting our education system to critical training resources, and focusing on industries like mental health, healthcare overall, and some of our other social service providers. We in the county can provide those jobs and provide that pipeline from education and training into the workforce. There's an ability to do it if we have the attention to detail, the willingness to drill down into those details and make those connections happen. And being part of a new generation on the board, we know that a new generation is also addressing the issues of climate change, the need for equity and equality, and growing our local economy is related to all of these issues as we look at the decades to come. Millennials and younger are about to be a majority of the workforce in just a couple of years, and I'm already 40, so we're kind of old news almost as millennials. It's the rising generations after me that are even competing for those jobs, and so we need to make sure that they can afford to stay here and make sure that Los Angeles, and especially the San Fernando Valley, is a place they can afford and be proud to call home. And while we face challenges, we also know that there are lots of wonderful new opportunities right here in the Valley. And I'm particularly encouraged by a new era of investments that are coming to the Valley, especially in the Warner Center. I'm excited about the investments from Stan Kroenke, somebody who's actually investing regionally in not just his own personal interests in the team, although we're happy about the Super Bowl, I think. And we're happy to have the team, and we're happy to see what it means to truly invest in our communities beyond the sport itself. And it also gives us some key insights, as I mentioned earlier, into how we can set ourselves up to be successful on the world stage when we're thinking about the Olympics. So I definitely want to shout him out, as well as the other new developments that will soon arise from the important commercial center that is the Warner Center. It's really an exciting time to be here. I know that the good that the government can do for all of its people is possible. I'm up for the challenge on delivering on this promise, and that's why I ran, but more importantly, why I'm here today to be in partnership with you. I want to ensure that the government plays an important role by reducing impediments that exist and providing incentives to businesses that can to work with us to address the challenges that we face together, because I know we can't do it alone, and the answers exist right here in this room if we're brave enough to listen. I thank you for taking the time today to listen to me, to be here in community with each other, to share your good ideas and build relationships that will help build an even brighter future for the Valley going forward. And I stand ready to work with you here in the Valley, all of the residents, the businesses, community groups, all of the cities that make up the Valley, and all of the bright neighborhoods that make up the Valley, to forge meaningful partnerships, to address our largest challenges, to accelerate the development of key infrastructure and transportation projects, and to create an environment where our businesses and workforce can thrive. As I've said it, we can't do it alone, and I look forward to continued relationships, continued partnerships, and continued progress that we are going to make through our continued work together. Thank you very much.
Okay for some questions?
Absolutely.
All right. Supervisor Horvath is willing to take some questions if there are any from the audience. Do we have someone with the microphones? Yes, Randy has the microphone, and Honorable Mayor Washburn from
Yes.
Calabasas has a question.
Yes, absolutely.
Congratulations, Lindsay, on your
Thank
campaign.
you. Thank you very much. Good to
Remember,
see you.
we started talking about this many, many months ago.
Yes, we did.
And we talked about a number of the important issues, and you've covered them all today. Thank you very much for that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
The question I have is actually part statement, part question.
All right.
We've given a lot of money in Measure H, Measure W, and to Metro. And the Board of Supervisors and you individually have a great deal of influence on all of those matters of budgetary, I guess, development. So if you haven't thought about this, I would recommend that working with us here might be worthwhile to look at integrating those functions to deal with housing, water reclamation, and recycling, and also the transportation and the requirement, really, of Metro to deal with the housing and the runoff water or stormwater management issues of our communities, not to mention Caltrans and the Department of Transportation of both LA County, LA City. Enough of that. Is there an effort that you see that we can integrate those various piles of money in a way that actually improves the ability to serve not just the Valley, but the entire Los Angeles County?
Absolutely. And I want to say, reiterate something that I said in my remarks, which is, I am very dedicated to making sure that we understand where those dollars are going. Your public dollars are a symbol of public trust. And so we have to make sure that where they're being spent is something that you realize a benefit for in your own communities. And that I'm committed to that. Measure M, Measure W mean nothing if we're not building out infrastructure. Measure H means nothing if you don't see the results on your streets and we get people into housing and into the services and care that they need. So I am in complete agreement with you there. And I do see opportunities to work together. One project in particular in the district I'm excited about. There's been efforts between the city and county on construction around the river, the LA River. And I know that there was just a groundbreaking for a future pavilion at the headwaters of the river. But working together, there's also a bike path there. So combining our efforts between how we're focusing on the river and water, but also combining it with transportation infrastructure to help people bike throughout the region is one example of how we can partner those efforts. I met with representatives from the Las Virgenes Water District to talk about the unique challenges in the valley that you all face, and how all of the different water districts issuing different regulations causes confusion, and also which can also lead to public distrust. So figuring out how we can get our water districts to work together in a coordinated fashion to address the concerns related to drought is very important to me, and making sure that we're also using lessons learned in one district for another. For example, I know that the City of Beverly Hills Water District met with the leaders from the State of Israel and developed an MOU on water usage and other technology with regard to issues of drought. Making sure that we extend those lessons learned from the State of Israel, not just to Beverly Hills, but to our entire region, is important to me. And they're excited about sharing their lessons learned and making sure that we're connecting across and throughout the district. So we absolutely must be coordinating both within each of the issues that you mentioned and cross-jurisdictionally. I know that in order to solve homelessness, we need to build housing. Making sure that housing is connected to transportation is another way that we can connect the issues that you mentioned, and make sure that we're delivering in a coordinated fashion. There's a lot of opportunity to collaborate, and you can rest assured I'll be coming to talk to you about solutions you see in your own backyard.
Well, good afternoon,
Hi.
Supervisor Horvath. Welcome to the Valley.
Thank you.
I'm Howard Katchen with Southland Regional Association of Realtors.
Yes, I recall.
And, yes, indeed, and also an activist in Sherman Oaks involved with the Neighborhood Council, the Homeowners Association, and such. And as Brad Sherman says, Sherman Oaks is the best named city in all the Valley. So,
I don't think anybody's ever heard Brad Sherman say that. Oh, wait.
don't worry, I won't pull out any of his other lines either.
That's
But-
all right.
Yeah, but just two questions. One is,
Sure.
what did you learn while you were out on the campaign trail? And number two, through your interaction with Mr. Hertzberg, Were there any ideas or thoughts or proposals that he had that you might adopt?
There's a lot that I learned on the campaign trail, and most importantly, that it takes somebody who really wants to do the job to be cut out for the task, because there is a lot to be done in LA County. There are so many different issues that people wanted to talk to us about. While, there were overarching issues that touched every neighborhood, there were so many individualized issues, ranging from, some of the unincorporated areas. I'm effectively their mayor, making sure that the infrastructure that they need for the quality of life you expect is something that we're prepared to deliver. They know who to talk to and how we're going to work with them. But the variety of issues and the ways that we can make meaningful impact are so diverse and varied. And as somebody who comes from local government, it's not a surprise to me that each neighborhood has its own special, unique characteristics, and that we need to solve these problems, not just with broad brush approaches, often that we've seen try to come from the state down here, but instead work with neighborhoods in collaboration and partnership to deliver solutions in ways that make sense for each neighborhood to the best that we can. So that's something that's very important to me, and I know is very important to people throughout the district. And so that was something that I learned that people really want us to listen, to not just deliver solutions, but actually work with them to develop the solutions to the problems that we're facing and work together. And so I'm excited about the partnership that so many people have offered. I could talk for hours about the different lessons that people have given me on any number of different individual topics. But I did have a wonderful call with Senator Hertzberg when he called to sort of conclude the race. And as an aside, I will tell you, one thing that I learned too is the county registrar does not call an election. So they certify the election after all the tabulating is done. They certify it 30 days after, but in the case of Mayor Bass, her race was called by the press. Ours was not. It's not that high profile. So until and unless somebody concedes a race, it is not over. So I didn't get my first phone call from the county until the Friday after the senator called me. So between the time that I got my first call from the county, welcoming me into the county system and kind of gearing me up for my first meeting, and my first meeting itself, I think it was about 8 or 9 business days, and that was over the Thanksgiving holiday. So if you can imagine trying to staff up, get everything going, put together a swearing-in ceremony and welcoming everyone, and then preparing for what was one of the longest board meetings for my first meeting, all of that in about 8 or 9 days was a lot. And not everybody knows that that's how it went down, that's how it works. So we'll be making some suggestions about how we helped people to successfully transition. I was jealous when the mayor shared with me, we had lunch to talk about the emergency declaration from the city, and she shared that she had over a month to work on that declaration. I said, I had 8 days just to get into office. So, but I do expect that the senator will be a great source of knowledge, and offered and extended his willingness to help me at any time. As many of you know, Barry came working from his office, as well as formerly with the office of Mayor Villaraigosa, has worked extensively in the Valley and with many wonderful community organizations. So there are a lot of lessons learned that we won't have to relearn because of that work. And most importantly, that, I am not afraid to take good suggestions and great solutions from any source. It doesn't matter. I want to work with anybody who wants to work with us to make Los Angeles County better.
Hello, Constantine Anthony, Mayor of Burbank. Obviously, I'm not in your district, but...
So close.
So close, very close. Well, you almost got us. A few months before the election, I saw you speak at a conference on housing and homelessness.
Yes.
I'd never met you before. I'd never seen you talk before, and you absolutely wowed me. And it was at it was at that conference that I endorsed you, and you are fantastic. I was previously homeless myself. I've never heard someone talk about that stuff who hasn't come from that background, and you were spot on with everything. So my concern, and you've been a council member before, you understand this, a mayor, and you know that Measure H does not guarantee those funds back to the cities that pay into it. I know in Burbank we've paid about $8 million a year into Measure H, and we've seen maybe $30,000, $40,000 back. And we have a lot of need. You know, there's a lot of folks in this room who understand that Burbank has priced out a lot of folks, and we're trying to do what we can, and everybody in this room, they're all trying to do what they can. Would you consider, or do you see on the horizon a possible change to Measure H, maybe not going to the ballot, but definitely either an ordinance or a standing rule where at least a percentage, 5%, 10%, is guaranteed back to those cities that pay? Because every time, you know this, we have to do the grant process and ask and plead, and it's up to, you know, the whim of the supervisor at the time if they think it's a good idea. Doing that local care is so very important. We understand our constituents. We know what's going on. I'm not going to tell you what's best for West Hollywood. You've lived it, you know? And so for me to look at everything that we're trying to do with those Measure H dollars, would you consider that? Is that something on the horizon that you think about?
So as part of our emergency order this Tuesday, I also included that there need to be clear and regular updates on where Measure H dollars are being spent, to what end, in what neighborhoods, to make sure that everybody knows exactly where those dollars are going. Because I've heard your story before in many different ways. People just really don't know where that money is going. They don't understand, you know, we're paying into this system. What are we getting out of it? So transparency and accountability around those dollars is something I'm very committed to, and making sure that each community does get a return on the dollars that are being invested into what are the programs that are funded by Measure H, that you can actually see those results in your own community, is very important to me. So I'm going to figure out exactly how we can do that, and make sure that we start to create some transparency around what has actually come out of the fruits of those dollars. I met with service providers yesterday after our declaration. Today, I met with the folks at LASA, which was a very interesting meeting, as you might imagine. But we're all committed to making sure that we are cutting through the things that have not delivered results. I heard from service providers yesterday the length of time it took them to get funded from LASA to get their money back, and it's money that they already know they're going to get, but they're sitting and waiting and trying to, MacGyver their way through service delivery while they're waiting for funds that are already owed them, but for signing a bureaucracy paperwork. And I heard from LASA today that they have done some investigation into their own processes, and in one category of contracts, an individual contract could be touched 120 times within LASA before it goes from initiated to signed and delivered. So that's got to change. It's immoral what's happening. And so I am very committed to making sure that we understand the public dollars that are coming into this system are effectively and efficiently being used to meet people on the streets. That's why they're being spent. Otherwise, we shouldn't have them. And so that's something I'm very much committed to, and I thank you for bringing that up, because every neighborhood needs to see results.
Ladies and gentlemen, Supervisor Lindsey Horvath.